I went to Silver Lake Flea Market yesterday, and I got this bracelet.
Pretty. Silver Lake Flea Market. What's that all about?
It's a really, actually, it's one of the smaller flea markets in LA, but I really like it because it's one of the only ones you don't have to pay to get in. Like Rose Bowl was today, which is ginormous. Rose Bowl Flea Market is so huge, it's once a month. But it's like $20 to get in.
Really?
So you already are out $20 before you even buy anything. And so I never want to buy anything. I'm just kind of upset the whole time.
Wow.
Flea markets are
I've never heard
expensive.
of such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a price for admission. I remember when I was a kid, we'd go to flea markets and they were just like open to everybody. I think it's still that way in Georgia.
Yeah, I've never heard of somebody paying to go to a
Certain
flea
flea
market.
markets. No, there's definitely some
Yeah.
in Georgia that you have to pay to get into, I feel like.
Like what?
Okay.
I guess if it's at a stadium.
High-end
No.
flea markets.
Just in general. Just in general, man. It's crazy. But you
Keeps
don't
out
have
the
to pay to get in.
riffraff.
What?
You know, keeps out the riffraff.
Oh my gosh. But Silver
Yeah,
Lake
you
Flea,
know.
you don't have to pay to get into, so it's
Exactly.
amazing. That's why it's my
Yeah,
favorite.
but you got to deal with the riffraff. So there
I
is
guess
that.
I only ever go to the riffraff ones. I guess I'm riffraff.
I think we are riffraff.
I guess so.
I think my neighbors think I'm riffraff.
Oh yeah.
Possibly. More in that in a minute. We do have a story to tell you, and I think there's going to be a lot of stories in this week's episode of the podcast. You ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All
Well,
right.
that intro music.
Mags and Dads, wholesome chaos. Mags and Dads, wholesome chaos.
What a day it has been. We have already been unloading, packing the house, pressure washing, ripped out carpet, back to the office, dealt with dogs, took them to the park, and we're podcasting.
Yeah. I've
Man.
had a day too. I've had a day too.
I'll bet you have. You have a day, even though you're 3 hours earlier. I'm sure you've been very up and productive on this busy, busy day.
I've been up for like five
But
and a
we're
half
here now.
hours.
Why?
I can
Incredible.
look into that later on story time.
Story time. So
Yeah.
who goes first with story time?
You go first. You go first.
Okay. So this is the ongoing saga and the epic tale of the Porch Night, Maggie. So the Porch Night, yes, absolutely. We have in our family a suit of armor, a knight in shining armor,
Oh,
which
yes.
we got from my wife Shay's father, from his estate, and we inherited that. And we had it for many, many years in our home. And it was up kind of like on a balcony pedestal kind of thing. So you could see it and look up to it. Well, when we moved to the new house, we're moving everything. It's like moving day. There's all kinds of craziness going on with furniture and dressers and beds and everything. And the night kind of got set off to the side on our porch, on our front porch, up against the brick of the house. And we moved in everything else. And then we looked at the night and we're like, hey, that looks pretty good there. And decided to just kind of leave it there and see what happened.
Yeah, fully expecting we were going to get.
Well, it was a test, right?
Yes.
It was a test
Yeah,
to see, like,
I feel like that would not fly with your neighborhood guidelines. Your neighborhood seems a little uptight.
Well, Brightwater, we wouldn't have been able to do it either. Brightwater very specifically says no yard
All right,
art.
and now our old neighborhood is out there. Ties have been
Well,
cut.
But we moved.
Oh my gosh.
So-
Remember? Never mind. Go ahead.
yeah. So I don't know. I was still hopeful that the Porch Night might survive because he looked really good there and kind of blended into the brick. There's the whole theme, every man's home is his castle.
Right.
And so this is our castle, and he's kind of guarding up,
gosh.
guarding the porch and guarding the house. Well, and then we had two lights. There's one right in front of the door that you flick, and that lights it up. And then there's one that lights up kind of like down the porch and directly over the night. And so we started calling that the night light because he'd light the night with the light.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. And so everything's going well. And we meet a couple of our neighbors. They don't say anything. We've got some friends coming over. They comment or whatever. But I'm thinking like this might survive. Well, we got a letter in the mail yesterday from not even our homeowners association, but from the management company that's retained by our homeowners association on their behalf, telling me I am out of compliance. We are out of compliance with our neighborhood guidelines. And, and it's just basically said cease and desist. There was actually this line in there that said, we expect that you will be a good neighbor and just take care of this directly.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
no, we fully expected to get
Yeah,
this,
but
though.
it's still.
And it was fine. It was fine. The letter's fine. But what's more confusing was that about a month ago, we get an email from the HOA, and it's a cut and paste of one of the guidelines that says no signs can be in the yard. You cannot have a sign unless it's, for a game or something like that, whatever, school thing, and that can only be like 2 days or whatever. It was minimal, but it was specifically only about signs. And I was like,
And it looked like it might have been to everyone because it didn't have anything specifically to address us. It didn't mention the night.
but it didn't
Night's
say
not a sign. It was
send-
I don't think it was
have
related.
undisclosed recipients. That's why it was like my email address. And so that's why I was like, do you think this is about the night? And your dad's like, no,
So-
that's
to
to
me,
everybody.
it looked like it was about like political ad campaign signs. Like, you don't want to put that in your yard.
Yeah.
And literally the next couple of days I'm driving around. Every time I drive through the neighborhood, I'm looking like, nobody's got signs up. Why are they sending? That's so random.
Yeah. Do you
And I'm
guys
like,
think
it might have
that?
been about the night?
Do you think that a neighbor reported you guys?
I mean, maybe people drive by us all the time. That's the other thing. You can tell they really stretched to find the violation because what the term they used was temporary structure.
Structures. It says
Yeah,
no
there
structures.
are no temporary structures allowed, aka your
that's
porch night.
easy. Just call them back and say, "Oh, it's not temporary. He's bolted in.
Welded him to the house.
Permanent.
He's part of the infrastructure."
No, but it's fine. We love this neighborhood. We
Yes,
are
we
going to
do.
be good neighbors. And like I said, we fully expected that this wasn't going to fly. But I did look through the guidelines and I didn't see anything about that. And I was really surprised because I figured a nice neighborhood, would have, very specific guidelines. But
You
Here's the
guys
thing,
may
though.
be fine, but I'm fuming. I'm fuming over here in Los Angeles. Okay.
Here's the thing.
we're gonna have him up in the upstairs window looking out and leave the
Yeah,
the
your
blinds
HOA is
open
lucky I'm
with
not
the
there.
light.
That is true.
It's been a busy
So that is
summer.
our story. I'm going to put the porch night back during Halloween because I think I could make it fly during Halloween.
Yeah, I think we can do Halloween and maybe Christmas. I don't know. We
Like, put
better
some
ask.
spider
I
webs
don't-
on
Put
him.
a
I'm
Santa
not-
Claus
we're not
hat on
trying
him
to-
and you're good.
We're
There
not
you
trying
go.
to cause trouble. We were a very, very good, what do you call it? Neighbors,
Mhm.
but homeowners in our past neighborhood. All these many years, so many
You
people
got
knew
in
me
trouble
because
there too, though.
No, everybody knew me because I'm always so helpful. Like anytime anybody sends out an email looking for something, I stop, I dig out the information, or if it's something like people needed tables, all right, do you think it's convenient to go get tables
Didn't-
out of storage to loan to somebody? No, but I do that because I'm a
Didn't we
good
get in
neighbor.
trouble for growing pumpkins in our front yard?
Yes.
yes.
We got-
But that wasn't, we didn't plant it there. It
I
grew
know.
It just rotted
naturally.
because we never picked up the pumpkin
it
from
rotted.
Halloween.
It
It's
rotted,
rotted
and then
into
we-
the earth and became its own.
But
compost.
we ultimately moved most of the pumpkin when it rotted, but we didn't know some of the seeds had gone in there, and we grew a pumpkin. I was pretty proud of us doing that. It was
Yeah.
a pretty pumpkin.
The only other time too is we had a big it was it a fountain it wasn't a privet, but it was some kind of pampas grass that was covering up the fire hydrant. Remember?
Oh, I don't remember.
We had to
that.
remove the pampas grass because it was endangering our cul-de-sac.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
But that's
'cause they couldn't
but
reach the
all
fire
of these
hydrant.
things are very understandable and reasonable. Like you can't
Yeah.
be growing like corn stalks in your front yard.
I think that would be
know.
so fire if I was driving in a neighborhood and saw corn. That would be insane.
It's fine in the fall, and Thanksgiving, Halloween, whatever, you can get away with it. Yeah, but the pumpkin grew and it was like April, so there was no way.
It was still really
We were
cool.
hoping as it grew. We were hoping we should have hit it.
I just had an idea.
What?
I'm going to move the porch night to other people's porches.
I don't want to leave this neighborhood, honey. I love it there. I
Oh my
absolutely love
gosh.
it.
Man,
Oh, that'd be so funny.
maybe talk that one out a little bit more. And
Porch night strikes again.
I have a really good place that you could actually run those ideas by with like a trained professional who might give you some clarity about it. You know where I'm headed?
Do you now? I think I do. Go for it.
Now for a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp.
Let's say, for example, you're having an identity crisis and you're not sure how you fit in with your, I don't know, local neighborhood or your friends or your families. And you're wondering about, like, how am I being perceived, right? And you could spend all of your time, like, dwelling on the problems that are coming at you, which could happen, and blow them out of proportion and really into something that has no bearing on reality. Or you could focus on solutions and talk with someone to help figure that out, right, Maggie?
Yeah, it can be tough to train your brain to stay in a problem-solving mode when faced with so many challenges in life. But having therapy is such a good outlet to get those problems out there and hear objective opinions and also just formulate your thoughts. It's so much harder for me personally to formulate my thoughts when I have not voiced them out loud. But sometimes you don't feel like you can talk to your friends or your family depending on what certain situation is going on, or maybe you just want an objective opinion. And BetterHelp is so wonderful for that.
Yes, absolutely. We've personally used it in our family, and we've recommended it to other friends we care about deeply, and that's why we're recommending it to you. So if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, affordable, and entirely online. So get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey, and you can switch therapists at any time.
When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/wholesome today to get 10% off your first month.
That's betterhelp.com/wholesome.
Fire. Sorry. I'm trying not to say fire so much. It's not my favorite thing. So I heard your story. Would you like to hear mine?
I would. Please bring it on. I can't wait.
right.
I'm on pins and needles.
Let me
Pins and needles?
Pins and needles? Pins and needles.
Let me set the tone here for a second, all right? Picture it. You're in sunny Los Angeles. It's 7:15 in the morning, maybe 7:20.
Beautiful.
You're lying in bed.
Okay.
You're fast asleep. You're in REM sleep, mid-dream, fully dreaming. And you're a little bit of a overthinker, so your doors are locked when you go to sleep. That may not seem like a super important factor right now, but it's important for later.
Okay. I'm with you.
In REM sleep, in this dream, you hear a knock at the door.
Uh-oh.
A knock at your bedroom door.
Mm-hmm.
Early in the morning. You have no concept of what time it is this morning. All right?
Sure.
And so I hear a knock at the door, and I hear Jenna, who's my roommate, go, "Maggie?" And I said, "Yeah? Like, what's up?" And she just goes, "Something's wrong." And so I, like, immediately jumped up, went to my door, unlocked it, and, like, she's standing right in front of my door. And she, like, just takes a step back, kind of inviting me into the living room. And so I'm in the living room, and I look over. I don't really have my glasses on, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. And I just see Mitch on the couch. And so I'm like, guys, literally, I was in deep sleep 90 seconds ago, and now I'm in my living room. I've been alerted there's a problem, and I see Mitchell on my couch just looking at me. And I, like, Mitchell's one of my, like, best friends out here, just for the story of this.
Yeah.
And my face is, like, so dead. Like, I was alerted that I looked so upset because I was like, why am I here? And then I look over and Jenna's door opens and Blythe walks out. And so Blythe surprised me back in LA. She flew in. She got in at like 5 a.m. Mitchell and Jenna both knew. And so they decided, I totally get it. Like, they didn't have much to do that early, but they decided to wake me up. And I literally, it was so nice to see her. It was such a good reunion. And
That's awesome.
I was talking to Mitchell and Blythe because we went and grabbed food after. And I was like, did y'all tell Jenna to go with those words of waking someone up in the middle of their sleep, that something's wrong? And they were like, no, we had no idea she was going to say that. And I was like, yeah, write a script next time. Let's
Yeah,
formulate
workshop
this
this
down.
idea a little bit. Like, yeah, exactly.
I was like, Jenna, why is that what you went with? And so that's how I was woken up this morning. It's
That's
so
so funny.
and Blythe's been gone for about 2 months, and so she had texted me literally yesterday saying she booked her flight and she'd be home in 20 days or something like that, 12 days maybe. And so I really was not expecting that. But the other part of it was I did not have my glasses on. So when she walked out, I was still a little confused. And so I had to squint for a second. And we
Yeah,
all
you
three
weren't quite awake either.
Yeah,
That's
we
funny.
all each Blythe, Jenna, and Mitchell all have recordings of it. None of them are very good, and we were all so tired. But it was crazy because once I was up, and then just going around LA so early, like before 8 a.m., is so nice.
Yeah, I
It was
know.
it was so good. I did only have 5 hours of sleep, which is a little unfortunate, but but all in all, it was a really exciting morning.
That's so awesome. That's so funny because I was wondering if like this was going to be a dream, that you
No.
walk out and Mitchell's on the sofa, like how did he
A dream
get
within
here?
a dream.
Like,
Yeah, I
I
thought
know.
that too.
Yeah,
I must meet Blythe next time I'm in
Yes.
LA.
Same.
Promise me that I will meet Blythe.
Yes, if you're both in town, absolutely. October.
All right. Perfect. Well, we have a couple questions as well today that I thought we could get into, if that's okay with you, Maggie. And
Yeah.
we could talk about some things in life and about what's going on in our worlds. And, I was thinking about just in general, why we push so hard in some ways to do things that are hard for us and why it's worth it. We can get into that as well, possibly, if that is an idea that floats your boat. But this question comes from Michael Persico, who says, "Hi, Dan and Maggie. Absolutely love your podcast. Have been listening since episode 1. My first question is for Dan. How do I appear more grown up when it comes to my managerial job in school care? I'm 23 years old, and most of the parents are twice my age, and sometimes they find it hard to take me seriously. What advice would you give me to help them understand that even though I'm young for this role, I've been fully trained," right? And so he's 23 years old. He's in this role as a manager at an after-school care facility. And Michael, hey, I get it. It's I've been in that role as well. First time I started speaking professionally, I was about your age, and I was on stages in front of corporate ballrooms and boardrooms and audiences that were much older than me. And the thought was like, how are these people going to take me seriously? And what I found was a lot of that was in my head. And so the way through it for me was to basically treat everyone as equal, not older than you, not younger than you, not better than you or below you in any way, but just to show up full of respect, kindness, curiosity. And remember, like everything's relative. Like 23 is young relative to the parents, maybe not as much to the teachers. I don't know. Then you also kind of have a great advantage being closer to the age of the students, perhaps. But you can't really change the way that they react. You can anticipate it, though, and say that might be something that keeps coming at me, and just respond, I would suggest, with a kind of like a calm confidence, and just kind of like understand that they're testing you a little bit just to see how you react. A lot of that is the fact that you look pretty young. And part of it is also that you are, even though you're trained for your role, you're still kind of new to the role, right? So there's a difference between training and experience. And so when they push back on your age, what they might be pushing back on is the fact that you don't have a lot of experience in that role yet. And in that respect, they're right. And that's just going to take time. And so you're going to go through that learning curve, but just be open to learning from everybody. Like experience will come in time. And then you can accelerate it a little bit just by being really present and being intentional, looking for mentors, listening, and just kind of approach all those situations like these people aren't really out to challenge me, but maybe they're out to teach me. And so what can you learn from them? What can they learn from you? And just kind of approach it from that respect, As a manager in this role, you really are a leader, and leadership's not about like telling people what to do. It's really about communication primarily. That's the primary role of a leader, is to communicate something extremely clearly with authority to be able to make decisions. And so just maybe start to think about your role like that, as how do I be a better communicator to everyone? Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, and if you can use really big words.
Use really big words.
Wear a tie. No.
Wear a tie.
Wear a tie. Yeah, and black rimmed glasses.
Yeah,
and pull your pants up higher.
Really high.
You pull your pants up really high, and it makes you look older.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that only so much is on you, and their view of you is ultimately on them. They're gonna choose to, and there's certain things in your control, but just to remember that it's not necessarily a reflection on you. Like, you do your job well, have respect for yourself and respect for others. And if somebody chooses not to, I don't know, it's kind of accept you in that position solely because of your age, that is not on you. No. That is not on you at all. If you are stepping up to the plate and fulfilling your roles, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yep. I do. And I also think that there's,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that's absolutely right. And I was thinking, is at 20 years old, you're often in those rooms and situations and creative meetings and conversations with people who are much older than you. Mm-hmm. They're approaching you because they already know about you and they want to work with you. So that's a little bit of a different dynamic. You may not be like having to impress them, but I bet it feels that way sometimes because we all want to impress people.
There's definitely an impressive aspect, but something that really helps me is remembering that those conversations are happening for a reason, that I have something that I can bring to the table that will be beneficial for them as well as for me, and kind of focusing more on it as a collaboration, not as a kind of just a show-off competition between the two people to impress, I think it's just cooler to think of it as working together.
Yep. Yeah, but that what you just described does take some sense of confidence.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the underlying root to so much of communication issues, problems, conflict between human beings is insecurity. It's like somebody's showing up to, one of the people at least is showing up to that conversation and they doubt themselves. They have their own issue. They have their own baggage they haven't dealt with in some way. And they're trying to become something that they're not, or pretend that they're more experienced than they actually are, right? Yeah. And I think as long as you're honest and stand in your congruence, you're going to be in a good place. But did that make sense, though, what I've said about experience? It's like there's no shortcut for experience. I look back on, even though I was confident and capable when I was younger, I handle things now way different than I used to, just because I've done it so many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have conversations now with clients, and I remember very clearly initially thinking, I hope I can impress them or listen and ask the right questions so that they don't know that I haven't done this very much, And now it's like I really do have a great deal of confidence. I can help them solve their problems.
Listening to what they have to say and then being able to internalize that and let them know what you can do to help. And he can use that in the same situation, listening to the parents and the kids and letting them know that you really have their kids' best interest at heart. And maybe sharing little bits of information, positive especially, hopefully. But let us know how it goes.
That's a great point. It's not about you. It's not about the parents. It's about the kids,
Yeah, exactly.
So if you keep the purpose front and center in your mind, then it should be able to transcend kind of all that other stuff too.
Exactly, because if you are making an impact on the kids in a positive way, those parents are going to know. They're going to find out, and they're going to be like impressed, far more than you telling them they should be impressed, which you wouldn't do anyway.
But congratulations, 23 is a great age, and sounds like you found a really great job, and you're putting your training to excellent use. So, way to go, Michael.
And didn't you say there was another question on there?
Yeah, his second question was for you, Maggie, which is relative to something you mentioned on the podcast an episode or so ago. He said, my second question is for Maggie. As a fellow young person in today's world, how do you find time and get in the habit of reading the Bible each day or morning when you have a busy schedule and when downtime comes, the last thing you do is you want to read, right? And then he also said, thank you both and Shay and Eddie for being so uplifting in every single podcast. God bless and take care, Michael.
Aw.
So, all right. So habits and daily disciplines, including your reading of your Bible.
Yeah,
Go for it, Maggie.
I'm definitely not perfect with it. I definitely miss days and miss, just things I've planned. They fall through sometimes, and truly, life does get busy. Ideally, I would be up at 8 every morning, do quiet time at 9, and then start my day. However, life doesn't always work like that. I think it really just comes down to a matter of priority. I know for me, my like soul is better when I put those things in place. And so it's a matter of, I guess, yeah, just like discipline of putting my phone down, which again, I don't always do, but I try, and I'm trying to get better at it. I'm just putting my phone down for 15, 30 minutes and just spending time away from it and reading the Bible. And like quiet time doesn't always have to be reading the Bible. There are definitely days where I'm like, the idea of reading right now does not sound like it's going to be the most beneficial thing to me. And so you get creative with it. You listen to worship music. You spend just time in prayer, downtime. Like there's so many different ways to be spiritual and to connect with God that I don't usually like to put specific parameters on what that time looks like, which is a new thing for me because kind of I like attended a private Christian school for 8 years, and from a very early age they like taught us what a quiet time was and how structured it was. So I'm kind of disagreeing with a little bit of that now because I don't think it always has to look the same. And I'm kind of finding that for myself a little bit. But yeah, I think just making it a priority in your life, especially as you get older, a lot of times people's faith comes from their parents or from their upbringing. When you get older, you have to choose it for yourself. And I think that makes it like 1,000,000 times more special and 1,000,000 times more yours. And so just making it a priority in your life and saying this is something, like I personally do want to read the entire Bible. If I'm gonna be talking about it, I'd like to know everything that's in it. And so like that's something I'm working on. That's a priority to me. Yeah.
Good job.
We're going to talk about the Bible app.
Yeah, I thought of that too. Mom and I did the Bible from cover to cover. It was so funny. I was at a wedding of a friend's daughter, Nito Cobain, in High Point, North Carolina, and I just downloaded the Bible app on Audible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it was like, well, it was the app, so it wasn't on Audible, but it was an app that can do different reading plans and things like this. And one of them said, read the Bible in a year, right? And it was a year-long plan to read the Bible. And I literally had the thought, well, a year's going to go by. I know how quickly a year goes by. As I get older, like they go by faster and faster and faster. So next year at this date, at this time, I could have either read the Bible or not read the Bible. Yeah, go for it. And so I clicked the button, and it was very easy. It kind of puts you in this reading plan where it took you through it, and this was your daily deal. And it was interesting because, obviously you don't retain everything, and it doesn't always go chronologically. You could read it cover to cover. You could read it chronologically in the order it was written. There's all kind of different ways to do it.
Yeah, because they've got better ways of doing it than reading from beginning to end. Because a lot of the Bible does overlap, and different areas are supportive.
So if you're an audio listener, that could be another way to go.
Well, it wasn't even just audio. You could choose to have it read to you, but you get an alert every day that says, hey, don't forget to read today's Bible, whatever, And so you can either read it, scroll through and read it physically, or you can have it read to you. And I know there was a lot of times when we were about to get on a plane and we're like, oh, make sure you got that downloaded, because if you wanted to listen to it, or we'd read it real fast before we'd go. But when we finished reading the Bible, listening to it, whatever, how we did on the app, we both missed it. We were like, we've been doing this for a year. And sometimes you'd get behind. You'd miss a day for whatever reason. Or sometimes I'd go ahead. You know, it was like, wait, I'm into this. I want to read more of this chapter. And you can always do that. But yeah, we missed it because we are creatures of habit. And we got in the habit of listening to that every single day, pretty much, almost every day for a year, and missed it after that. But I had one more suggestion for you, Michael. I am big into listening to the Passion City DC podcast, and I find myself, whenever I'm going to go on a 30-minute, 40-minute drive, I'll open the app and get that rolling as I head out on the drive, and it's just awesome. Sometimes I'll listen to two or three, especially if I'm going a lot of driving that day.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this podcast, go ahead, Maggie. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, in regards to the statement of, in a year from now, I can either have read the Bible or not, I relate to that so much. I literally had that thought when I started a new book recently, and I read the first few pages, and I thought, I'm not loving it, but I want to get back into reading, and I had the thought, I said, if I just keep reading words on this page, I'm gonna finish this book. like I fully can do this. It's just a matter of will.
Yep.
Good job. Yeah, no, what I was going to say is if you're listening to the podcast right now and you're like, the Bible isn't my thing, I don't want to check it, and that's not really where I feel motivated to read or to spend my time in daily discipline. That's fair. You might want to check it out. Some good stuff. It's been around for a while. But in general, just daily disciplines and taking that time out to do something that, allows you to reclaim a portion of your day. I saw a speaker yesterday, Tim Richardson, who's a friend of mine. He spoke at our NSA Georgia chapter, National Speakers Association Georgia chapter. And Tim, his whole thing was about the power of the pause. And, honestly, I didn't expect it to be a really content-rich, like heavy-hitting speech, because you think the power of the pause, okay, I kind of get it. Take time out, or take pause when you're speaking. I kind of anticipated that. But literally, he broke it down to the meaning of, I would call the space between the throws and catches, or like, the pause before you do something meaningful, you do something important. And a point he made was like, literally, there's not one human action or intention that could not be made better by an intentional pause. I mean, think about it. Like you're gonna kiss your wife. You're going to have a conversation. You're going to look at a sunset. You're going to, tackle that job, do a speech, whatever it is. It's like that moment before you do it is so critical in terms of, doing it on your terms and with the right mindset and intention. So I thought that was really great. We can tie that into this day as well and to Michael's question. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Speaking of disciplines, Mom, Dad sent me some pictures of old schoolwork of mine that he found.
Yeah, that's
that
impressive.
was 2 pages of a timeline. I think it was probably my AP US history. I think it was all US history. And so like from the Mayflower to present day, it was just covered in years and events that I had to memorize. And I literally told Dad, I said, geez, like how is any kid supposed to look at that and say, yeah, I got it. Because I'll tell you, I don't remember any of that now. I couldn't.
They were color-coded.
Color-coded
periods of time that were overlapping. It was really well done.
It was
you put
very
in
well
a lot of
done.
time on that.
And I told Dad, I was like, I don't think, I didn't do very well on that overall AP US exam.
Oh, you mean when you took the AP
AP
test?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you, well, never mind.
What?
I don't
What,
think you
Mom?
studied as you went along. You decided to study like the day before.
Well, it was also, we had some very interesting aspects of how AP classes can be taught 2 ways. They can be taught to learn and to kind of have understanding, like especially AP US, an understanding for like the United States and how it came about and that applying to current things. And I feel like our class really did a good job of that, especially on the current conversations. We like love to talk about that and where they came from. Or you can have an AP class that teaches you to pass an exam.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's actually the sad thing is I can't say which is better, because at the end of the day, a lot of colleges aren't going to let you in unless you've got 4s or 5s on these AP exams. But
I guess
at
so.
the same time, did you really learn anything, or did you? I don't know, man.
A lot of that information, I don't really, certainly don't retain dates as much as stories. I think people really remember stories and they're emotionally moved by stories. And I had a great history teacher who really brought U.S. history alive to me. And, he would tell these stories from the standpoint of like it was like the U.S. was like a rebellious child and against their parents, in Great Britain. And I mean, I don't know. I just remember some of the stories and some of the details, but more the emotion and the fact that he really made it interesting and captivating. And at least for that time, I could retain what was taught on those tests. It wasn't an AP class, so I don't think I have that experience. But nonetheless, you guys both did great. It also made me, seeing that assignment, made me remember one of Eddie's assignments when he had to read a book and annotate different aspects of the book. And he was looking for examples. I can't even remember exactly what it is. As he's editing this podcast, he's remembering exactly what I talk about because Eddie turned in another book, like this
Yes, he did.
this binder of like hundreds or 1,000 different notes that were like thought through and detailed, because he interpreted the assignment literally, and the teacher was just like, I didn't expect you to do that.
Yeah.
Like it was just
He
not the
did
clear
like 10
communication.
times more detail
Oh, at
and
least.
information than they expected. But Eddie is a voracious reader. And so for him to, and that was another thing, Maggie, I came across one of Eddie's writing journals, or reading, well, it was what it was in like 4th grade. The teacher had a composition book, and she said, we will write letters to each other throughout this semester based on the books. So he would read something, and then he would tell her about it. And then she would write back and say, wow, that's really interesting, but what about this or whatever? And I was blown away by his descriptions and stuff, the way he could summarize books in like 4th grade. And I hope he'll be okay with letting us read some of that on the podcast coming up, because I was taken off track of packing because I got into reading about 5 different stories that he talked about.
Man,
it's awesome.
Speaking of history, though, the Queen died. How's everyone feeling?
Oh, I mean, it's knew it was going to happen,
But I didn't. I told my friends, I was like, I feel a little blindsided by this one. Like, it's just something I didn't expect to happen.
Well,
I was like,
it's
I never
weird.
thought.
People either are
96.
really really either invested in the royal family and the story, or completely like indifferent to it. It doesn't have a bearing on our lives at all. It's interesting, and certainly what Queen Elizabeth, I find that she was in the sense of how she represented her country as a monarch and stayed out of the realm of politics, but she was just all about England and all about the tradition and of what a queen should be, and being representing the essence of, I guess, what that royalty was like. What's that?
Essex. It's pronounced Essex. It was a joke.
Essex. Yes, I get you. No, I mean, what a life to how old was she when she became queen? She was a teenager?
I thought she was 16.
16, 17, something like that?
No, I don't think she was 16.
No?
We can definitely find it out.
I literally have not. The only reason I knew was because we got an email whenever the neighborhood, our old neighborhood, which I can't remember the name of our old neighborhood, but
thankfully everyone who listens to this podcast can.
Yeah. They send an email whenever the flag at the clubhouse is at half-mast, and they tell why. And I saw the email, and I've been just too busy. I haven't looked at the news. I haven't looked at online news, anything. And so I'm just going by memory. But I thought she either arose at 16
she
or
was young.
probably 18. Probably 18. She probably at 16 was too young to rule.
My guess is 19 or 25.
I don't think so.
But I saw TikTok, and this is the thing that like weirdly made me emotional. It was a picture of her and the woman who plays the mom in The Parent Trap. And the woman who plays the mom in The Parent Trap was like had her hand and was curtsying as they were meeting or seeing each other. And that mom holds like a really dear place in my heart. I'm not sure why. I think just because I loved that movie so much. But she passed away a while ago. And so I don't know. That picture made me emotional.
Yeah. No, that was really sad. She was on the throne 70 years in June of 2022. So she was 26.
I was so close. I said 25.
She was 26?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not think it was that old.
I thought she was younger as well. But that's remarkable.
And Natasha Richardson is who you were talking about, Maggie.
Yes, Natasha Richardson.
Yeah. I just felt like we had to talk about it. It was such a such like big thing to have happened. Oh my gosh, but there's
Didn't you go to England right after Princess Diana died?
Yes, right after. We had this trip planned with Dan's mom and sisters and a friend of theirs, Anna Turek, who ended up being my roommate a lot of the time. We got along great. But it was right after she died. And so everywhere we went, there was just flowers like I'd never seen anywhere. Now, since then, other people have, laid flowers at a site of somebody's death or something. But it was literally like at Harrods, which, what was his name? Dodi Fayad? Anyway, out front of Harrods, he was, his family owned that. It was almost 5 feet tall and went like at least one or two sides of the building where they just kept piling and piling on flowers and all around the palace that she lived in. And now I'm drawing a blank on that too. It was. Yeah. In fact, we took a tour of Westminster Abbey where she was married and where she was laid to rest. Just literally, I think 2 or 3 days before. I think 2 days before we got there and took this tour, and because we took the tour with the Abbey, they actually at the end of the tour, she said, "Hang on one second," and she went and she got some carnations and she gave us each a carnation and she said, "This is from Diana's funeral."
Oh, wow.
And because they still had some flowers there, and because like the regular tours didn't have access to that, and we were just didn't expect that. But I was really surprised at how hard that hit me. Not even just going over there, but just finding out in the first place, because she truly was the Queen of Hearts to so many people around the world. Anyway, I still have that pressed in a scrapbook.
Yeah, I found out about the Queen on TikTok.
Oh, yeah?
Which I hate that that's how I find out about so much of my news. But this isn't even super new. I've been just on a royal side of TikTok with these people just kind of breaking down, like, oh, Meghan Markle wore this outside today. This is a reference to this. And this is a reference to this. And the prince and princess now crowned and like spotted together and like what that means. And so now I have all this terminology talking about royalists and anti-royalists and the clashes when I've never even been to England. I'm chilling on the other side of the ocean, but
what's the relationship between the English royalty and the royalty from Genovia? That's what I want to know. And how often do they get together to connect?
That's a common question, because when you watch there's a docu-series on this, I believe, and when you watch said docu-series, there's 2 of them. Half of the people have British accents and half have American accents, and so people are often very, very confused.
Yes.
Interesting.
And honestly, I don't feel like I can comment on it at the moment, just because as someone new to the space, I would prefer to give the experts more time to process the Genovian, British,
Yeah.
American bloodline
Yeah.
into that sector of the world.
That's wise. And if by chance we said Queen Diana, which I don't think you
No,
did,
we didn't.
but
Princess.
it's
No, we said Princess Diana.
Yeah, okay. For some reason,
You
I was
said
thinking
Queen of
said-
Hearts, but that was a common
Yeah,
thing.
Queen of
people-
Hearts. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't say
Yeah,
that.
you
'cause
said the
she
Queen
was-
of Hearts because
yeah,
she captured
she's-
it. That's what they
yeah.
called her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
be
was-
careful,
Queen
Mom.
Elizabeth was the Queen of England, but she was the Queen of Hearts. There was a little
Yep.
conflict between the two of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I can
Diana
send you guys
was
some
the
TikToks.
she was the rebellious one who was kind of like pushing the boundaries back then.
Yeah, but even
Ooh,
still, like pushing the boundaries by just wanting to get out there and help people. And,
Yes.
you know, she had
Her
some
revenge
awesome-
dress.
Her what?
Do you guys know the revenge dress I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, that's like an iconic thing. I've seen multiple TikToks about this very, very recently of after her husband, I don't know, they weren't exes at the time, he publicly announced that he cheated on her while she was in public. Everyone thought she was going to go into hiding, and she pulls up and she gets out of a car and she's in this
Yes.
beautiful black dress, and she gets out
Yes.
and someone takes her hand and she just walks across the courtyard, and everyone's
Yes,
like, she's
I-
so
I remember
hot.
that.
Yeah.
And even just the
Yeah.
short hairdo at the time that it was
Mhm.
very untraditional.
Iconic.
I don't know
yeah.
how much of it was everybody else versus what was really going on, but who knows?
Oh,
I
we'll
think
never
part of
know.
the reason
I haven't read all the books, and I won't.
Back to kind of just royalty in general. I think part of the fascination is tradition. As more as much as things change and how people tend to redefine and push back on traditional values, traditional everything, traditional, throw it all away. We're starting anew. We're the young generation, whatever. It's like I've always been a traditionalist in the sense of not just values and structure of like what's good and family and stability but I've always been fascinated by where things come from and the fact that, when you realize no matter how long you live, if you live 100 years, great life, you're one of the oldest people who ever did it, right? You're still only living 100 years of human history. And there's so much that came before you and so much that came after you. And when you realize you participate in this flow, I get really fascinated about like who started that and who created that and where did this come from? I'm taking that to an extreme now, even with disc golf courses. When I'm playing my disc golf courses and I go to these different places, I just want to know, like, who thought this?
Obsession.
Who thought this up? Like, who had the inspiration for this particular course? Who thought through all these different holes? I want to know. I want to know these people.
I mean, I think I've always had a fascination with history, just in general.
Same.
Even in school, subs would show. I remember this videos of archaeologists going through the pyramids and stuff like that. And, royal castles and everything. I've always loved touring castles. We did that in Germany. I think we toured the Biltmore. I know that's not a castle. Maybe it's a castle.
It's an
It was
American
really
castle.
big. It was really, really big.
Yeah, it's big.
But I love that. I eat that up. And so I'm not shocked that I am quite entertained and interested in like British monarch history. But
I would love
yeah,
to take you guys to Egypt and inside the pyramids. I got to go inside the pyramids with Mike Vondruska and my buddy and John Goddard. That was awesome. And I loved it. Learned so much. You know how you go through on some experiences where you just learn and learn and learn and learn, and eventually you've reached this saturation point. You're like, I cannot retain any more information. Like, I'm just going through the motions now. That's kind of how it was.
yeah.
But it was fascinating just to be there.
When you're doing it all at one time, as
Yeah.
opposed
Well,
to
as-
getting to study it over.
Yeah. As
The
kind as that
ancient
offer
Egyptian
is,
disc golf courses are amazing. Yes.
as kind as that offer is, I have already toured it on VR on YouTube. So
Oh, same thing.
Wow.
Same thing.
yeah. I don't know if you were able to get to all the places I was. I went down a really steep area.
Oh man, were you scared?
So, I was a little scared. It was kind of dark. I tried to see if anyone could turn on lights, but nobody answered.
Gotcha.
That was weird. But maybe I could be persuaded into touring the pyramids in Egypt.
Well,
And-
before we tour anything in Egypt, we have to go tour, get to go tour. I'm going to Dallas tomorrow for a speech there.
I love
then
touring Dallas.
Yes, I'm going to tour a ballroom and then a stage
cool.
and then a Uber and then another
Maybe
hotel.
an airport?
An airport for sure.
Oh, awesome.
And maybe an upgraded seat,
Score.
I'm hoping. And then I meet your mama in Reno
Woohoo.
and do a speech there on Tuesday. And then we get to hang out with Eddie and Morgan.
Yay.
It's going to be awesome. See their digs and go look at Lake Tahoe and spend a couple days hanging out and mainly getting away from all of our cluttered boxes of stuff.
Yeah, but the
Man.
only problem is that when we come back, guess what? Those boxes are still going to be where we left them.
We need some house elves who
Yeah, we
can
do.
put it all away for us. That'd be
Maybe
lovely.
a porch
Well,
night.
I will be looking forward to the
porch
week
night.
after too. So first we get to enjoy some R&R. Well, I do mostly with Eddie and Morgan. You got to do a little work, and then when we get back, you go away again,
Do
and
I?
I get to be the house elf unpacking the boxes without you. So
I'm
get
gonna
to
love
decide
that.
where everything goes.
So I get to go away and then come back and have it be organized. I love that.
Yes, I do too. Actually, get out of my
Wow.
way. Let me do my thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like
But
you
it has-
guys have a lot coming up.
It has been
So-
fun to go through all our old stuff and all your old stuff and Eddie's stuff and make decisions about what we're keeping and what we're not keeping. And
I hate those texts. I hate getting a text
I'm
saying
sorry. I was gonna say
keep,
like our
keep or
whole.
get rid of.
I know. I said Maggie, like so many different things. Like,
Or just
but
having
you all,
having a
you
day.
do have all
and
your
then-
stuffed animals.
it'll be over though. We will get to the end of this thing sometime.
Yeah, which you're
Speaking
wh-
of-
all the stuff you said to keep though, when
Just
you get
kidding.
here, guess what? All those boxes are in your room, so you're gonna get to go
Mm.
through them and go, oh, just throw it out.
Mm.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of getting to the end of things,
Yes.
Yes.
this has been
think it-
great.
I think it's been a great podcast. And, thank you for coming on the journey with us. So if you'd like to be like Michael and ask us a question, which we could answer on the podcast, go to wholesomechaos.com. It's real easy to ask us a question or suggest a topic right there. You can also see a lot of other great information and more about us. We'd love to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, and we will see you next week. I love you, Maggie,
Love you guys.
Love you too.
and we love you, everyone. Take care. Have a great week.
Bye.
Mags and Dads, wholesome chaos. Mags and Dads, wholesome chaos.
You want to know something? When you started talking about the porch night story, I fully thought that there was going to be some story about an Amazon delivery person or someone getting terrified by the 6 foot tall silver plated knight next to the door.
Or
what I
the
thought that
dad
was
had
going.
an idea to put on the costume and stand on
Yeah.
the porch all day long,
Yeah, and then
waiting
move
for
and
a
scare someone.
potential UPS delivery that never came. And he got massively dehydrated and had to be rushed to the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder if
Yeah,
you.
that never happened.
I wonder if you stood out there. We already took the night off the porch this morning. We were like, oh, we got to take it off before we go out of town, and like end up in trouble. But what if you dressed like a knight and you just stood out there? Would we get a letter?
Only one way to find out.
Oh,
I'm on it.
no.
Mission accepted.
No.